I'd like to welcome you to the 2024 Glendora State of the City. My name is Joe Cena. I'm the President and CEO of the Glendora Chamber of Commerce, and I'm proud to be here in front of you to help introduce our city leaders to tell you all about the great things going on here in the city of Glendora. Now, to get things started, now we're in Glendora, so we got to do something special. We're going to get this started the Glendora way with two of our world-famous bagpipers from the Glendora High School Pipe Band. It's all yours. I know better not to compete with pipes and talking, so I'll wait till they go. Well, again, welcome tonight to the State of the City. I'd like to take an opportunity right now to thank our sponsors. We've had several sponsors this year, and if you can hold your applause until I go through the list, that would be much appreciated. Presenting sponsors are Athens Services, TransTech, Grigola and Sons Construction Company, and the City of Glendora. Okay. Our major sponsors, BR Companies, Alshire Winder, America's Christian Credit Union, SoCal Gas, Inland Valley Humane Society and SPCA, the Foothill Gold Line, JM Diaz Inc., and Skin Perfect Medical Aesthetics. Thank you. Thank you very much. And then our supporting sponsors and table sponsors is Southern California Edison and the Glendora Public Library Friends Foundation. Thank you. Okay, now at this time, I would like to introduce Greg Morton. He's the Senior Digital Media Specialist with the City of Glendora.
Everything we've learned. Goes into everything that comes next.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, and distinguished guests, we are proud to start tonight's State of the City with the official kickoff of the city's new brand. In response to the strategic objectives adopted as part of the 2023-2025 strategic plan, City Council awarded a contract to JPW Communications, a Southern California-based firm specializing in government communications and branding, to conduct a brand assessment, design, and rollout. In September of 2023, the city's public information and media team began working with JPW to begin the first of 5 phases in the development process. This partnership allowed for a collaborative approach with a goal to balance the city's rich history with its future aspirations, attract new businesses, and enhance quality of life for the residents and businesses that call Glendora home. It incorporated comprehensive research, assessments, and development processes, stakeholder input, and helped identify key decision markers, including extensive feedback from City Council, staff, and the community at large. On March 12th of this year, the City Council approved the new brand logo and insignia. Guests tonight have received branded shirts and stickers and other treats that you'll find on your table to help us celebrate this new beginning. The rollout will continue throughout the summer and will include an official brand standards guideline manual, new uniforms for staff, enhanced marketing, a new mural at the recently renovated Pompey Memorial Sports Park, as well as new wayfinding signage throughout the city, and culminating with the website redesign project currently underway and anticipated to be completed in November. I would like to thank you all for your continued support and dedication in helping keep Glendora the pride of the foothills.
Okay, now without further ado, I'd like to bring up the man of the hour, the Glendora Mayor, Mr. Mendell Thompson.
Well, let's just give it up for Joe Cena. He is an amazing man. The chamber that we have here is superior to any other around, and he is the face of a lot of us. So Joe, thank you for the zigging and zagging that you have done to accommodate this crazy idea that I had. Thank you to the council, to city staff for allowing us to try something new. And I don't know how it's gonna turn out or how you're gonna rate it, but I think it's a fabulous place. I have seen people here that I have never seen at our usual lunch, so welcome. And Joe, thanks again for just being here. It's really a chamber event, and so thank you for everything that you've done. I also want to just say thank you to the sponsors, as Joe has done, to our city staff. I want to embarrass one of them. Lindsay McNeil. Where is Lindsay? I hope she's here. There she is. She has done amazing work. She's worked really hard to make this night what it is. Like I said, it's a brand new thing. So she just like, okay, just go for it, right? And I think the auditorium looks great. This is a basketball court. At 8 o'clock, the carpet's gonna come up and it's gonna become a disco floor. And so if you don't have anything else to do, you can stick around and, have fun. She got food for us, Luca Bella. I hope it was good. I don't eat a lot before I speak, but it looked really good, and I had a pecan pie, because I always have to have my nuts and fruit, and so I figured, that's kind of close, and it was really good. So Chris is out there. Tell him thank you for all of the hard work that he's done to feed us this night, and it's just amazing. So, and most of all, I just want to say thank you to each one of you. There are probably 10, 15 things that you could be doing, but you're here because you care about what our city is. And tonight, 4 of our very best are gonna speak to you and enlighten you and challenge you and inform you. And you're gonna have time at the end to question them or me. And so it's going to be a good time, but I just want to say thank you for being here. It's really an important thing. We're here basically for four things. One, to be accountable. Be accountable to you, because all of the money that the city has comes from us. Now, some of it comes from the county and the state and federal government, so I don't mean to be offensive to my state, county elected friends, because I don't want for you to cut us off like Monday, okay? But we pay a lot of taxes here, and we need to be accountable to you. I want to talk about the theme that I picked: legacy and innovation, forging the past with the future. And when Adam asked me, well, what do you want the theme to be? I kind of thought about it a few days, and I came up with this one, because I think we're at a pivotal point to be blessed by our past, but think ahead too. And I think that that's going to be good. I already said questions, and then fourthly, just to hang out and say hi to each other and catch up on each other. I'm also appreciative that our school board's here. We work closely with them, and they had their own state of the schools, which was very good, informative. And if you weren't there, you really missed it, because they brought a great update. And I just want to say thank you to each one of you. We have worked very, very hard to serve you as a collective group, serve you, your children, your grandkids. And with funding being cut and being promised and then not being there, both of us have wacky jobs at times. Wacky's a good word, right? I know that Dominic could think of other words, and I know that Adam could too. But thank you for being here, and I just want to say that really strongly. So, Glendora is 113 years old. No, Gary and I were not here 113 years ago. I'll just get that joke right off the table. Cliff Hamlow might have been 110 years ago. Now, I love Cliff. I just had breakfast with him, and I want to confess, I had the breakfast of champions with Cliff, because he only eats a cinnamon roll. Brianna, yes, I did just get a cinnamon roll with Cliff. But that was so good. He's 90. I figured, if he could live on that at 90, and I am 70, then life is good, right? So why shouldn't I do it? But legacy is something that is incumbent upon all of us. It's something that's handed from generation down to generation. And, we are blessed by the people that formed our wonderful city. They put in roads and pipes. I think we still have some of the pipes that they probably laid. Bill can speak to that when he gets up here. You all know that we have some of the pipes that they've laid because they leak a lot. They planted homes, they built churches, they created schools, hospitals. They put in the oak trees, the fruit trees, the gumdrop trees. They even put a castle in to make our city really something. And they brought a culture that probably was the reason that most of us moved here. I would dare say that if if we stopped right now and went around this room, you'd say, well, it's either safety, the schools, or we just like the culture, just the vibe. And I know that my wife and I have lived here for 40 years, and we raised our 2 kids here. And now what's happening is our grandkids are being raised here. It's a legacy that we have passed on. In fact, years ago, one of them said that, never gonna live here because it's boring. Well, one of them does live here, and we love it, and the other one lives, well, I'm not gonna give them the airtime, but it's a little east of us. But their kids go to church here, and they go to school here. So once again, a legacy, because that's what Glendora is. You talk about that, and a lot of us can hearken back to when our kids were here, there wasn't a teen center. This building is 21 years old. It has come since our kids are now 44 and 45. And, but this came because of the people that went prior to us to plan. There was the pit, and the pit has now evolved to Louis Pompey Park, a fantastic, a beautiful, a field of dreams. But there's some of us here that played and coached there at the pit. And you remember those cold, wet nights. But that's a legacy that we embrace and that we share. If you haven't been by Finkbeiner Park, I would challenge you to run by there. Because when our kids were little, and even when our grandkids were small, it was a nasty place to swing because it was dirt and sand, more dirt than sand. And then the famous chips came in, which we all didn't like. And now it's an all-inclusive playground where whether you can roll, walk, run, or crawl, it's available there for you to enjoy with whoever you are there with. Worship play places have evolved. I know that there's a church here in town it's 102 years old. Karen happens to be the pastor there. That's a legacy place for a lot of us. A lot of stuff has happened there. Weddings, some funerals, cooking classes, wonderful things have happened. Our city hall, the cornerstone was laid in 1921. That's 103 years ago. And yeah, it creaks and it groans when you walk in certain places, but that's a legacy. And so when I think about that, I think of like, wow, so now we're in 2024. The bad news is there's only 201 days left of this year, and we'll be in 2025. The future is here. The future is now, where EV cars are being talked about and run about. In fact, we're thinking about how can we add more points to charge those. The goal line is coming. It's changing us. Work from home. I think about the sacrifices that have been made back 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 21 years ago, when this was built. And my challenge to each one of us is, we're at a pivot point. What are the sacrifices, or at least what we would consider that, are we going to make so that grandkids can be here, great grandkids be here, our own kids can come back and live here and enjoy a place that we affectionately say it's a place that we love to work, play in. It's who we are. It's what we're about. So as we think about the future, it's important to understand that something has not changed, though, and frankly, I think it maybe has changed a little bit. It's just become richer, deeper. And that is the Glendora vibe. It's a great place, as I've said, to live, work, and play. It's a great place where neighbors are really neighbors. You know them. You have lived next door to them for many, many years. Their kids, they babysit your kids. Your kids, they babysit the other ones. We shop together. We eat on all of our parklets together. We have coffee together. We worship. We go to the same schools. And every time you hear a bagpipe, you think of Glendora, that and then boom, boom, you know, that's just rich. That's just who we are. And I'm happy that we're a city, we're a people, that everyone is welcome here. The Cultural Day, I think, expressed that in many ways. First time we've ever done that. Imagine 113 years it took us to have that. But what a wonderful day that was, where we shared experiences with each other, food, laughter, dance, crafts, just exchanging thoughts around tables. That has not changed. In fact, it's probably grown. But this night, as I've already said, you will hear 4 of our best that will attempt to enlighten you, to inspire you, to give you facts about what our city's doing. These are 4 of our team that lead, shape, and do amazing work. It is wonderful to be able to have them. On Tuesday night, the council, and while I say that, I just want to say thank you to each one of them. The council is incredible. We work so well. The good news is we don't always agree. Isn't that wonderful? But the good news is too that we're all friends and we respect and value the positions that each other has. But Tuesday night, we approved a budget, and the budget is very good. It's strong. Reserves are, there. Cliff, we still meet 45%, and that's a big thing. Now, if you want to know really what that means, then Adam can tell you, or Cliff can tell you, but that means that we have funds that are squirreled away for a rainy day, as they like to say. And we're still doing that, and we're doing it well. And it's because of the team that we have, the people that we have. It's because of you. It's because you supported a Measure E that kept a portion of our sales tax here and now funds police officers and parks and road. It's those kind of things that create the sacrifice that the founders did 113 years ago. And yet we're in a new day where innovation is coming, new ways are being done, and it's exciting. It really is. And I'm so happy that the council is on one accord in terms of the vision, the mission, the future of what Glendora is. We want you to know, and I believe that the school board would share this. We want a valued life here for everyone. I mean everyone. I don't care where they're from or who they are. We want for everybody to feel like this is truly home. And we're working hard to make sure that occurs. So thank you again for coming. Thank you for leaning into legacy, leaning into innovation as often as you can, and as tough as that can be. Thank you for taking your time to listen to where we are and some of the pivot points that we are doing. With that, I am very pleased to introduce our city manager. Adam has been here 5 years, 6 years. He'll probably say it seems like 50 years at times, but we're so blessed to have him. He has created a great team. And would you help me to introduce Adam? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Well, lucky for all of you, the mayor said 4 of the best, but not the best, so we apologize in advance. Thank you very much for coming. A couple of the housekeeping items again. Lindsay, a huge thank you for us, and Greg Morton, who spoke earlier. They're really the reason why you were here this evening in this event. They've done an amazing job. Secondarily, want to thank the council for allowing us to be here this evening. Truly, they remind us all the time. They talk with their predecessors who came before them. They are always a reminder of what was here before they were, and they really lean on the advice of those that came before. Secondarily, housekeeping item this morning, and there's the council. Look how nice they look. You like that? We actually took pictures this year. We have headshots. And we also have a reminder that not to take yourself too seriously tonight, that we hope you learned something, that we hope you take this opportunity, and while the city is a very serious business, we don't take ourselves too seriously. So we hope you have fun this evening. Okay, so for me this evening, I'm going to scroll through here. All right, so in order to continue the city moving forward in the right direction, it's vitally important for us to remember where we've been, areas we've excelled and other areas we have not. We listen and we act, and I'm sorry, even if you've lived here for 45 years, we won't always do what you say, but we promise that we will do the right thing for the greater community. The City Council has set forth policy that is implemented by staff, and again, always is for the greater community good. It's layered in with all of our requirements, both state, federal, and local as well. Tonight, I'll brief all of you on how the city measures our community input, sets forth a strategic plan to move the city in the right direction, and how funds are allocated to those initiatives under our philosophy of what gets funded gets done. Later this evening, you'll hear from our Director of Public Works, Bill Witkoff, our Police Captain, Chris Stabio, and to wrap it up will be Moises Lopez. So if you did not have fun tonight, it's Moises' fault since he is last. And for me, you'll hear about the community survey, strategic planning, and our budget. So, apologize for all the writing in here, so let me summarize this for you. The city measures its overall city quality with community surveys independently. We've done them in 2011, 14, 16, 18, and 22. We also measure a community or a quality of life #1 issue when we do independent studies like homelessness, and recently we did a facility assessment for a possible bond measure. Glendorans largely are opinionated. And when I spoke last year at State of the City, I asked all of you to do something for me, and that was not to say, I don't know when the city asks you what's important. If you will look at number 4 on the left-hand side, when we just measured 6 months ago, the number 4 answer on how the city can improve quality of life is, I don't know, which was preceded by no changes, everything is fine. Ironically, those two things have been a hallmark as we move forward the last 13 years. The city, when it measures the same areas have continually come up, improved dining, more recently it's homelessness, improved streets and roads, but there is always a large amount of I don't know and everything is just fine. So, next year when I'm up here, if we do quality of life survey again, do me a favor, don't say I don't know, give us something. We wanted to take a bigger step here, delve in a little deeper. In the last 6 years, we've actually seen a pretty significant shift of the #1 quality of life issue in Glendora. In 2018, limit growth was the #1 community concern, almost 20% of respondents. To put this in perspective, the top 3 usually average about 40 to 50% of all responses. We get about 25 different responses each time that we do this. In 2019, which correlates with the Martin v. Boise, homelessness becomes the #1 community concern at almost 30%. The good news here is while homelessness is still a top concern, it's 10% less today than it was 5 years ago. Similarly, we've had roads in the infrastructure, and ironically, when we did this question last, it was for an infrastructure bond, but we didn't tell anyone that, and infrastructure was the #1 overall community concern. And so tonight you will hear from both our public works and our police department a little more information on both what we're doing for infrastructure, the steps the city council foresaw coming and began taking years ago, and how we're improving homelessness. Also happy that 10% of you think there are no changes needed. And while we know changes are needed, we appreciate that we're doing a good job. Okay, so when we look at other areas of the community survey and what the public wants, more than 85% of respondents still believe that Glendora is a good or great place to live. The quality of life is outstanding. And what you'll notice the biggest change is the difference between excellent and good. And really, and I will tell you in talking with the people who do these surveys, and these are all statistically valid surveys for all of you out there, is that post-COVID and post-2020, the fact that more than 85% think the quality of life in Glendora is good or excellent is absolutely incredible. Similarly, this is the review of city services. Most of you, over 80%, are somewhat or very satisfied with city surveys. And if we take for a moment to think that a city is a regulatory body who tells each and every one of you what to do every day and fines you when you don't do it, it's pretty incredible that more than 80% of you actually think the city does a good job providing services, which is a testament to the city employees who come each and every day and by and large want the very best for their community. Okay, our strategic plan. So we get asked a lot, how do you know my input matters? And the city council takes to a multi-year strategic planning process where they take the community survey input. They take their own input they have from their constituents. They take the requirements in the state of California, locally here in the county of Los Angeles. They also take the input from city staff and understand what's coming, and they come up with a multi-year strategic plan, which helps us align our budget resources with those strategic initiatives, and also helps us align staff work plans with those. So what gets funded gets done, and magically what shows up in an employee's requirements in their annual review also gets done, magic. But wanted to take you through some of our key goals here. #1, and these are not in priority order, was implement a strategic economic development. Of the 9 objectives, there are 37 tasks, of which 15 are completed. In maintaining financial stability and sustainability, there are 5 objectives, 19 tasks, of which 6 are completed. Some notable items are a public workshop on economic development, working with property owners on key sites in town, to hear a little more about that, identifying our top 10 economic leakage opportunities, outdoor dining in the parklets, the Mita Avenue improvements, zoning changes for the housing elements, and optimizing our investments. Enhancing employee development and retention, and enhancing and modernizing the organization are 2 of the biggest and more robust initiatives that we have. We've completed about 15 of the tasks that are associated with these 2 goals, including establishing an employee wellness program, a formalized internship and apprentice program, and many modernizing opportunities are underway, including a new financial system, a new payroll system, a new permitting system, a GIS system, and many other technological advances that will make your access to the city better. As we move forward, we also have 3 additional items, and you will note the trends, and they do meet with what you just heard is most important to the community is infrastructure, homelessness, which you will hear in detail later, so I won't go into those. And a new one that's emerged is really enhancing the community engagement and presence. So city staff has started a season of service where we get back to the community through various programs, and we've also held our multicultural event. Overall, there's 7 strategic goals, there's 49 objectives, and 199 tasks. And these aren't small tasks. These are policies, these are city council related items, these are major work events. And there's more work here that can ever be done in 2 years, but it sets the city on the right path and is a very transparent process on how we're doing. Annual budget, as the mayor mentioned, was just recently adopted on Tuesday night. Total revenues are 137 million, expenditures are 127 million, and we have 268 staff members. Just a quick look, I'm sure it makes sense to many of you in this room, but our largest department in terms of personnel is our police department with 92 FTEs, followed by our public works department, which also includes water at about 68 employees. The other departments are relatively small as compared to those two, but 235 full-time employees, 33 and a half part-time employees, and we've made huge strides in filling those vacant positions that we had. We're gonna do a little bit of a financial overview here, as the mayor indicated. We'll try to do this a couple different ways. And in this chart here, it talks about the revenue of the city in the 2 largest areas, which are about 3/4 of all revenues, are taxes and fees for service. City happens to have a water utility, so the majority of the revenue charges for services, over 43 million, does come in through that area. If you notice at the bottom there, licenses and permits and fines and forfeitures, not much money here comes from us writing tickets in the police department. So Captain, if you could help out, be appreciative. 44 million though does come from taxes, the majority of which is sales tax and property tax. To look at the expenditures in one way here, we're looking at expenditures by category. In most cities in the state of California, you will see salaries and benefits as the #1 expense in an agency, and here it is not. It's operations and maintenance, and with capital improvements, the majority of funds are spent on maintaining services and our infrastructure to those of you in our community. Additionally, our second largest category is personnel. Cities are service driven, those services are provided by people, people are expensive. Another way to look at the revenues and expenditures city overall is by revenue by function. So I mentioned public safety again, Captain, there you are, another look. You guys are low, 1.2 million. Some of that's asset forfeiture. The 54 million you see on the first one is really taxes and other general services like planning and building, but public works brings in 63 million, and that is largely because, again, of the water utility and some planning charges. Another way to look at expenditures by function, public works is our largest overall budget as a functional category at over 55 million, and again, that is because we have a water utility and we do lots of road improvements. And I know many of you have called in for potholes, but I assure you, you will see soon we have paved a lot of roads, filled a lot of potholes, and have undertaken a lot of water projects. Our second largest spending area is public safety. Okay. Last thing for me, as the mayor indicated, in one of the hallmarks of the city is being as transparent as we can about the investments the community's made. In 2018, the residents of Glendora supported us in our endeavor to raise sales tax by 0.75%. That money, which totals a little more than $9 million, funds a great deal of things, which includes about $6 million to maintain service levels, another $2.5 million in police resources, over $500,000 for homeless solutions, and other money for economic development. We produce this report card each and every year to be as transparent as possible, where the money that many of you contribute to is spent in the manner in which we promised. And with that, thank you very much for your time this evening, and I'm happy to bring up Bill Wyckoff, Public Works Director. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here with you tonight. So I get to talk about some fun things, or at least fun for me. So you'll have to excuse me a little bit if I kind of nerd out on some of the infrastructure and fun things that I get to deal with in Public Works. So tonight we'll be talking a little bit about the work that we've been doing, our assessment programs and some of the studies, our generational investments, those projects that we've completed and the projects that are underway right now. We're also going to talk about the best, which is yet to come, and those are our future projects, and also a need to identify some funding for some of those projects. So with that, we'll go through a few of the foundational documents that we have, one of those being our water assessment, our pavement management plan, isn't that exciting? Our traffic signal analysis, our facilities assessments, really looking at our facility conditions, our security, and our library structural analysis. So this is where I get to geek out just a little bit, so please just stay with me for a minute as we talk about this. So why are these foundational documents so important for us? This information really gives us the data that we need to make solid data-driven decisions about how we're going to address the infrastructure needs within our city. So we have a lot of these different assessments, and while they're each individual assessments, whether it's water, whether it's traffic, whether it's the pavement management program, they all build together to give us a really clear picture of what we need to do to maintain our infrastructure and what we need to do to improve it. So a little bit about our water assessment. So we haven't done a comprehensive water assessment in nearly 20 years. So we recently did that. We looked at a huge number of factors associated with our water system. We looked at the age, we looked at the condition, likelihood of failure, our different pressure zones, emerging technology, and life cycles. And believe it or not, we've got some water lines out there that are almost 100 years old, so we need to make some changes. So from that assessment, we were able to take a 5-year, a 10-year, and a 15-year look at how we're going to address the maintenance, what we're going to do. So help us to build this roadmap so we can take care of these different needs that we have. So we also know that the water infrastructure is intimately connected to our pavement management program. Anybody that drives through Glendora knows we've got some challenges out there in our streets. I've heard it from day one. I've seen posts on Instagram about, I hope he can get the streets fixed. I've had letters written to me at City Hall, so I know it's important to you, but it's also really important to us. So this is where we get a little bit detailed, so stick with me. I know somebody, I don't want to lose you here, but our pavement management system, what does that really mean? That's a way for us to go out and assess the condition of the roads. We look at lots of things when we're talking about our pavement management. We look at what kind of cracking is out there. What does it look like? Do we have deflections? Are there dips in the road? Has there been patching? Is there rutting? All those other fun things. And we give the roads a score from 0 to 100, 0 being basically dirt and 100 being a brand new road. So when we come out, we look at our pavement management, we look at that, and as we look at the road, we look at all the things that may take points away from it. We total those up and we subtract it from 100, and that's how we know what our pavement condition index is. So a lot of people hear that term kicked around and they may not be sure exactly what it is that we're talking about, but that's what we're talking about when we look at our pavement management program and that assessment index. So from there, we also have some other things that we coordinate with that. If we're going to take a look at the water infrastructure, we're going to take a look at the pavement management condition, we also need to know where we're going with traffic signals. And believe me, I've heard from plenty of you as well who say, gosh, I'm sitting at the intersection and there's nobody there and they've got a green light and I've got a red light and I want to go, but I've got to wait for it to go through this whole thing. So we did recently go through and kind of assess a lot of our traffic signals. Some of the things we have to look at is the age, the condition, but also our capacity to take on new technology within our existing infrastructure. So can we do battery backup systems? Can we do video detection so I don't have to sit at a red light while there's nobody on the other side? And can we do good communication between our signals? So all of that kind of builds into our larger database as we look at our CIP projects. I also want to talk just a little bit about some of our facility assessments. So we recently had a lot of those done, and when you take a look at all of our buildings, trying to assess the condition of our facilities, we have to look through a number of different points. What does the building envelope look like? Is the roof good? Are the doors good? Do the windows need any work? What do the mechanical systems work? Are they like, right? Great. The AC is great in here tonight. I got to tell you, I think that's wonderful for me. So we look at the structural assessments, our fire, life, and safety, age, condition, accessibility. So lots of things. So, and as with our water projects, when we look at that, our facility assessments are similar in that we may want to repair one area in a building, but as we start to look at it, gosh, when we touch this, now we have to touch this, and now we have to touch this. And all of a sudden, what seemed like a very small project becomes very complex, and it becomes very expensive. So that's why these assessments are part of the foundational document. So thank you for sticking with me for a minute while we went through some of the nerdy stuff that I get to do in Public Works. Now we'll get into more of the fun things. Some of our completed projects, and I get to have pictures up here with these. So our Louis Pompey turf and replacement shade structure, that was a wonderful one. We've done a number of pedestrian enhancements throughout the city. Our CDBG curb ramps, the Bender Carter Water Street improvement projects, the Meta Avenue improvements, our parklets, some charging stations, the Finkbeiner pickleball courts, the Glendora Reservoir demolition and parking lot project, our streets projects, our citywide slurry projects, the library boiler, and replacing some chlorine pumps. All right, projects that we're underway right now. So we have our Lone Hill, Cumberland area street rehabilitation and water main project, our Bennett Avenue and surrounding street rehabilitation and water main projects, Mount Loa Street and water main projects, our Amelia Avenue Country Club water and street rehab, the Dale Road property demo. That's been kind of sitting out there for a little bit, but that project actually started on Monday, so we're making great progress. For those of you who are following that, we're taking care of the abatement of the lead and asbestos in those facilities, so it may not look like we're out there working right now, but trust me, the guys are in there doing a great job, and then you'll see that property starting to get cleared soon. Our Route 66 sidewalk and curb rehab projects, again, some more curb ramps, the Finkbeiner Playground Park, and we also had some sidewalk and parking improvements. Now that's not a comprehensive list of everything that we've been working on, but just to give you a flavor of what we've been doing. And I am happy to tell you that most of these projects will be wrapped up by the end of the year. So I want to talk a little bit too about our water and street project philosophy. So when we go in and we want to take on one of these projects, we're looking at the complete street. So we want to make sure that when we go in there, we're in there where we know it's a little bit disruptive for the neighborhood and for people driving around. So we want to do this one time. Our goal is to go in to take a look at the entire project. We're looking at the water mains, we're looking at utilities, our traffic signals, the paving, our street signs, our pavement markings, any ADA ramps that we need to do, the sidewalks, the trees and gutters, bike lanes, pedestrian travel. So, and we want to get all that done. So when it's done, as you can see in the pictures like we have on Bennett here, it looks like a brand new street, right? Everything's been refreshed and everything looks good. More importantly, when we're done with that, we want to make sure that we are protecting those improvements when we're done. We don't want anybody coming back in. We don't want any cuts in the street. We don't want anything getting tore up. We want to keep this as nice as we can for as long as we possibly can. So a couple of statistics. Over the last few years, between our water and street projects, the pavement projects, our citywide slurry seal projects, and the ones I talked about are in progress, when those are all wrapped up, we will improve 21.9 lane miles worth of streets in the city. And I think for just a couple, 3 years worth of work, that's a pretty remarkable number for what our staff has turned out. All right, we're gonna move on to some of our future capital projects. I'll start with some of the grant-funded projects. So we have the South Hills Bike Park, our vehicle charging stations, the Finkbeiner Stormwater Capture Project, the People Movement Project, and again, these lists are not exhaustive, but I just want to give you a sense of what we're working on. We have 17 CIP projects that are in proposal or pre-proposal work. So our HSIP funded traffic signal modifications, that's for 8 traffic signals to get improved and updated. Our water reservoir safety upgrades, the Glendora and vicinity water main replacement and paving project. We're doing a brand new pavement management plan. So we did one about 5 years ago. We're getting ready to send an RFP out to do that again so we can make some good decisions about what we're doing with all of our street maintenance. And Lefetra Center building improvement projects and many, many, many others. So I'm excited to show how much we're doing, what we've got going, and what's coming up with the city soon. All right, Glendora Avenue. I cannot tell you how many times in the last couple of months I've been asked the question, what's going on with Glendora Avenue? Well, congratulations. We are going to be paving that in about 4 years. So, I know it's a long wait and I'm sorry, but I want to explain why. So, we are getting ready to send a proposal out for design now. It should go out late summer. We're thinking it's going to take about 18 to 24 months for design for that work, 4 to 6 months for the bid and award, and another 24 months for construction. We're talking about on Glendora from Gladstone all the way up to Route 66 as part of this project, and then from Route 66 up to Foothill will be part of the People Movement Project. So this is really a complex project. I think there's a lot more to this than even I realized when we first started to kick this off. Not only do we need to get our new water main in there and get the new traffic signals, get everything repaved, get all new signage, get all new sidewalks, get all new ADA improvements so we have an accessible community for anybody that wants to work through there. We need to coordinate with a whole bunch of people. So because we go under the 210 freeway, we have to coordinate with Caltrans. We also have to coordinate with LA County Flood Control and figure out how we're gonna get those water lines underneath that flood control channel. We've got to coordinate with all the utility companies. We know for a fact the gas company has a main transmission line that runs up there right next to our water line. And we want to make sure we don't do anything to hit that line when we're in there. Plus, we need a lot of right-of-way needs so we can get all of those ADA improvements done in there. So it is a big project. I want to let you know we are working on it. That RFP should go out soon and let you know why it's so complex. But I also know that it is not going to survive 4 more years. So we are really looking at the area from just south of the Wash back up towards Baseline. We know that seems to be some of the worst part of the road. We can go in there, maybe mill that area down a little bit, put a skin pave on top of that, smooth out some of those bumps. So please be patient, hang with me. I promise in just a few years we'll get that project done. Please don't be too upset with me when we start construction and that road's a mess, because we've got to make it a mess before we can make it better. But when it's done, it's going to be fantastic and it'll be like a brand new road. So thank you very much. I appreciate you letting me talk to you a little bit about what we're doing and the fun things happening with the city. So with that, I think I'm going to bring up Captain Stabio. Thank you.
First off, I want to say thank you for taking time out of your evening to attend the State of the City. On behalf of Chief Mike Randazzo, we appreciate that. He is not able to be here tonight because he is at an academy graduation. And since he is the only person that can swear in our new police officer, he's there. I was lucky enough to draw the straw that landed me here. One of the things that I think is important to note is the police department deals in people. People are our currency. And those people and partnerships are what make us strong. But those partnerships and relationships don't happen by accident. They happen because of careful planning. And they happen because of the support of the city council and the city manager's office that allow us to be creative, to address problems, and to embrace the cooperative and collaborative method of problem solving with other parts of the city. In 2019, we noticed that the homeless populace in Glendora had changed. It had become a little different. I've been here for 27 years and we've had a homeless populace the entire time. That's not unusual. But what we found out was that it was a little bit different. And so we had to look at how we were going to work about solving this particular issue. Because I will tell you right now, we're not going to arrest our way out of this problem, nor should we. We had to look collaboratively at how we were going to deal with our homeless populace, because the truth is they are just a microcosm of everything that we all are. They all have the same struggles, some more, some less, but they all experience challenges. So we started partnering with the Human Services Department of the city. Debbie Lopez and Eric Dermeyer. Debbie, I know you're here. I didn't see Eric. They are absolutely fantastic. Yes, let's give them a hand. We also entered into a partnership with the Los Angeles Center for Alcohol and Drug Addiction, also known as LACADA. They are fantastic, okay? They provide resources for our unhoused population. They hook them up with everything that they need. Sometimes that's housing, sometimes it is drug and alcohol counseling, sometimes it is as simple as their driver's license or something to eat so that they are not unsheltered and hungry. We have a cooperative relationship with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, with Caltrans, with the Los Angeles County Department of Public Works, and it only works because we work together. We can't do this by ourselves, and so we have found some great success related to that. We also have our community impact team that works for the police department. These are 2 full-time police officers funded through Measure E, and as I'm sure Mr. Raymond will tell you, we are not a money-making organization, but we are a people-helping organization. And so our full-time community impact team does exactly that. And one of the things that we're going to talk about in a little bit is how do you help those who don't necessarily want help or don't know how to get it? And our community impact team is a part of that. I know this is going to work at some point. There we go. So in 2022, we had about 2,100 homeless contacts. In 2023 and 2024, that number jumped to 3,500, just over 3,500 homeless contacts. This is not just calls for service. These are proactive contacts that are made by our officers. And the reason we've seen that number jump is not necessarily correlated to an increase in the homeless populace, although we'll talk about that in a little bit. It is knowing your community. We have a strategy for our dealing with our unsheltered populace, and that is outreach, engagement, and enforcement. Outreach. These are relationships that we built over time. These are relationships that Aaron Sambrone with LA CADA and Debbie and Eric Dermeyer have built over time. Okay, the challenge with our homeless populace is that sometimes they are very service resistant. They have problems with substance abuse. There are problems with alcohol. There are mental health issues that are not appropriately addressed. There is a lack of resources. And we do our best in a cooperative partnership with the city to funnel them towards those resources and to show them the value of accepting those resources. And that only happens after continued and persistent relationship building with this segment of our population. And so that is how we have become successful in the most recent years. We have a couple of key victories that we have achieved. So in the first 12 months of our contract with LA CADA, we housed, I should say LA CADA and Debbie and the Human Services Department of the city has housed 30 different individuals and gotten a number into substance abuse treatment. Okay, in the second year with LA CADA, those numbers were equally as impressive. We have reunited a variety of different families. Now, this isn't just in California. We have reunited families in New York, Iowa, a large amount of folks that their families may not have known that they were unsheltered. They may not have had a relationship. They may not have been able to communicate. Between the Human Services Department, the Police Department, and our relationship with LA CADA, we have filled that gap. We've bridged that gap to make sure that we can help them get back to where they are a stable and productive member of society and provide a quality of life that they need help getting to. In terms of, we've talked a lot about homelessness, but homelessness really is not the only thing that the police department does. Statistically, it's a relatively small segment of what the police department does. It accounts for about 17% of our calls for service as of this last year. In the last year, we had about 20,000 calls for service, and these aren't phone calls. These are calls where someone picked up the phone and said, hey, I need the police for whatever reason. And so 20,000 times a year, we have a Glendora police officer or a Glendora police employee that is non-sworn going out and engaging with the community. We have some statistics here related to specific crimes. There have been 349 crimes related to a person. That could be anything from someone getting into a fight to someone being the victim of a robbery to someone having their, some other domestic violence type of incident or some crime involving a person. We have a little bit of an uptick in our property crimes. However, one important thing to note is that we recently went to a different method of counting how crimes occurred, and this was as a result of what the state required us to go to. So sometimes when you count numbers differently, they may look bigger, but it's functionally no different than what crime was in the past. It's just a different method of counting it. We are budgeted for 57 full-time police officers. We are clawing and scratching our way towards that number. And in the vein of cooperation and collaboration with the city, the absolute truth of this is that if we hadn't formed such a good relationship with the Human Resources Department, it would be much more difficult to get to that number. Not shockingly, in the last few years, it has been very difficult to find those who are willing to put on the uniform, put on the badge, and put service to a community above service to themselves. And so we have had, along with other agencies, some challenges in filling our numbers. I am proud to report that we have made some significant changes and advancements in how we recruit that has allowed us to establish a one-day recruiting event. These have been absolutely critical to our success, and in the last 2 years since we have been doing this. It has been wildly successful. As a matter of fact, one of the young men that is graduating the police academy tonight was a member of one of our one-day recruiting events. So Rita Wendling, I didn't see you here, but if you are here or if you're watching, thank you. We appreciate you, and we couldn't do it without you and Kat and everybody else's help. So we are getting much closer to filling our ranks. We have a few different part-time reserve officers, some of whom are school resource officers, and they fill a huge segment of need relative to our schools. They make kids feel safe, they develop relationships, and they just provide some fantastic service for us. Looking forward into the future, we're looking at continuing one-day hiring events, a continued succession plan. Thank you to retired Chief Matt Egan for figuring out where our shortcomings were going to be, where our shortfalls were, and setting something in place so that we can recruit now and retain those folks that are with us and be able to provide the training and resources necessary for people to step up into a leadership position. We have engaged in a comprehensive equipment replacement plan. There's a lot of talk about the Glendora Way. Well, I will tell you, our Glendora Way was we would purchase some equipment, and then 20 years later, it's completely destroyed, and we have to buy a whole mess of cars. Yes, I know I had them more expensive. And guns and vests and all those other things. And we've looked at how to make that a little easier on the budget process, and so I don't get hate mail from Kyle about how much money we spend. I think we're really close to being able to make it a little bit less hectic, so Kyle's able to keep his hair, which is going to be good. And looking at investing in our employees' success. There are a million different ways to do police work, and we want to encourage that, we want to support that, and we're here to provide great public safety to the city of Glendora, and proud to do it. Thank you, and with that, I'd like to introduce Moises Lopez.
Good evening, everybody. I am cognizant of the fact that I'm the last to speak, so I'm probably keeping you from that second beer or second glass of wine, so please bear with me as I navigate it. So bridging the gap. So you've heard from a lot of our staff members about the things that we're doing today. Now it's about building upon what we've done to better position the city to be successful and continue making progress in the future. You heard from Bill about the many capital projects that we've been working on and those that are on our horizon. But we can't lose sight of the fact that we have other critical capital needs that are going to require our attention and our collective action over the next few years. To be certain, those projects are going to create a little bit of a challenge for us. That's okay. Those are opportunities for us to reimagine how we go about serving our community moving forward. And as you heard from Adam, what gets funded gets done. You've heard that phrase a few times now. It's a mantra of sorts. It drives the outcomes we're seeing today, and it will lay the groundwork for our future successes. And we're also extraordinarily fortunate to have Measure E, which is allowing us to make considerable progress in a relatively short amount of time. And when you leverage that support with the aggressive way that we've pursued grant funding opportunities, I know that we're going to continue making even more progress above and beyond what our expectations are. So our goal is pretty simple. We're working to ensure that we maintain and improve the quality of life in our community, because at the end of the day, that really is what it's about. So Adam earlier shared the results of the most recent survey we completed. If what gets funded gets done, then the first step in that process is to know what our residents are thinking. That's why those surveys are very important to us. It's the first step. It helps in the preparation of the City Council strategic plan. It provides us a roadmap at the staff level to get things done, and in turn, it informs the development of our budget. It all starts with our residents. We really do listen. I know what you're thinking, that sounds like a really novel idea, but it really makes a difference here in Glendora. So the survey that we recently conducted was intended to gauge our residents' interest in considering a bond measure to fund improvements to many of our community facilities. And as you can see, Glendorans broadly support the importance of ensuring our community facilities are improved, that they're safe and that can accommodate the multitude of uses and needs for our community. That's important, but we still have a lot of work to do before any decisions are made. The good news is that our residents are seeing these facilities as the assets that they truly are. You already heard about our water, you already heard about our streets and sidewalks, so I'm not going to talk about those again. But I do want to talk about a couple of others, and some of which were already referenced. Our city hall was built in 1921, and it's starting to show its age. You might have noticed the tarp on the roof as you drive by on Foothill. But what you don't see is the crack in the foundation of the building. Now, that isn't a metaphor. There's literally a crack in the foundation of our city hall. We've made a few improvements over the years and have a few more planned, but a building that was constructed in the last century is not going to serve us in the next. Our police station was built around the same time as our library, just ahead of it by a couple of years, and it's also experienced a number of those issues. The leaks roof, all of our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing equipment has failed or is failing and needs to be replaced. And kudos to our team who's working really hard to keep it. But all of that is happening outside of the eyes of the public. Nobody ever sees that stuff except our employees. And we're now at a point where we're outgrowing the facility just given the needs of the police department in this day and age. Our senior center also requires a bit of a facelift. That's also not a joke. Interior improvements are planned in the short term. And thanks to some grant money received, kudos to that team, we'll be able to accomplish those. But the original part of the senior center, the original building component, is more than 100 years old. And the new part is about 30 years old. And if you've been there during a bingo session, you know that it can get pretty wild and out of control. The teen center where we're at today, as you heard from the mayor, recently turned 21. That's the reason we've got the booze here tonight, so please feel free. And when we're not in here delivering speeches, this entire facility is being used constantly, and it gets beat up pretty well too. So without question, though, the facility that's in the biggest amount of need is the city's courtyard. Now that facility is probably the least seen of all of the facilities that we have, but it houses several critical city functions. We recently completed an estimate of those improvements that we need to make there, and we think it's going to cost about $10 to $12 million just to bring it to modern day code. So that's a significant investment that we wouldn't otherwise plan for. So we've got some work to do. But I do want to talk a little bit more in detail about our library. The library was opened in 1972. And since it opened, we've experienced several ongoing building-related issues. Our recently completed assessments resulted in recommendations to retrofit and repair the building, primarily in the Bidwell Plaza area, which also happens to be the roof of the main floor of the library. Now, we know about the water intrusion issues that we experience every time it rains, and if you don't believe me, the reason we have tarps above the bookshelves is because the roof leaks there. But if we intend to keep this building in service for the long term, say another 50 years, then we need to make a significant investment. So now's the time to start talking about that. And we have to think, about what we want our library to be in the future. It's more than the building that it occupies. There's a reason our residents regularly rank the library as the best service that the city provides. It matters to our community. Programmatic visioning is already underway. It's already started with several of you who have participated. But it's not just about books or accommodating space for books. It's about flexible spaces to meet the demands of the day. It's about modernizing the facility and evolving its relationship with our community, just like we've done for the last 50 years. So this work will also take a lot of time. It will also take a lot of community conversation. And most importantly, it's going to take funding. So the cost estimates on the screen that you can see reflect the array of options that are available to us. So this is a conversation that our community needs to start talking about now. The Glendora we know today is largely built out. The graphic on the screen represents all of the annexations that have occurred since 1911. To provide you some perspective, when the city incorporated in 1911, we had a whopping population of 700. By 1950, it grew to nearly 4,000. 10 years later, in 1960, our population was almost 21,000. It grew to just over 31,000 in 1970. By 2000, it was 49,500, and we've stayed relatively flat since then. Our population today is just over 51,000. And that accounts for a decline in population over the last 3 years. Our growth opportunity is limited. We are an older community, and the condition of our infrastructure reflects that. So where development occurs, there's usually an investment made in the surrounding infrastructure. There are improvements to our streets, our sidewalks, our streetlights, our parks, utilities, and the like. But those are mostly one-time investments. So if we don't have areas to grow, or new development doesn't occur, the investment in the city's infrastructure is not made at the level that is needed. That puts a lot of pressure on the city's budget. It also makes Kyle a little crazy. And while that may seem like a very challenging obstacle, it really isn't also an opportunity for us. That's why we're focused on redevelopment and revitalizing of all opportunities that exist in our community where it makes sense for us. It has to be the Glendora way. It's also why Measure E is so important to us. That 3/4 cent sales tax approved by Glendorans in 2019. When it was approved, we believed it would generate about $5 million annually. And as you can see on the screen, we are well exceeding those initial estimates. This year's budget projects a little bit more than $9 million in Measure E revenue. Now, I know that nobody likes to pay taxes, much less higher sales taxes. I get it, it's understandable. But of all the different types of taxes out there, and there are quite a few, this one is probably the most likable of them. Some might say it's Glendorable. Now, why would I say that? I say that because all of this money stays in our community. All of it. It doesn't go to Sacramento or Washington. It comes back to us. And you can see the impact in our community. And before I forget, please remember to continue to shop local. This year, Measure E, as you've heard already, will be used to fund several key programs that have been identified as priorities by both our residents through the community survey and by our elected officials through its strategic plan. It funds programs in the Police Department and Recreation and Human Services Department. It's funding of the refresh of our economic development program. The team is engaging with business owners, large and small. We're beginning partnerships with commercial property owners here in town to discuss how we can best help them. We're attending retailer trade shows to attract those businesses to Glendora. Shameless plug, we're going to get a comprehensive update to the City Council in August, so please pay attention when that comes out so you can be part of that process and help us better identify and understand what it is that our community wants here in our community. Those are the promises we made back in 2019. Those are the promises that we're keeping. Have I reminded you? Please shop local. Like every other city, we've got limited financial resources, and the majority of the services and programs that we deliver on a day-to-day basis are funded by the taxes that you pay or the fees that you pay. Grant programs help fill that funding gap for projects that we're unable to fully support, and it provides us with opportunities that would otherwise be very challenging to accomplish. So it's an important source of our funding. Over the last 5 years, the city's been awarded approximately $62 million in grant funding. 57 of that is in one-time funding. That means it's money that's specifically set aside for a specific project or program. That speaks to the quality of the programs that we have in Glendora and the quality of the projects that we're working on, because most of these projects are competitive. That's a big deal. Just to put it in context, the general fund that funds most of our government services this year totals $44.3 million. So in the last 5 years, we've literally funded 1 year of government operations through grant funding opportunities. But it takes a lot of work on the part of staff to find, apply, implement, report on all of these grant programs. But what's undeniable is that it leaves a positive impact on our community. So special shout out to all of our team. We're working on this every single day. We've all shared with you some of the work that we're doing. None of that would be possible without the support of our community and the leadership of our city council. It makes our city, a special place. But public investment is only part of the equation. We're seeing private development projects emerge, and we see many more on the horizon. Those on the screen are just a few of the things that are going on. Our friends at the Sousa Unified School District are in the process of disposing of their property on Barinka Avenue, making way for new development opportunity there. We've got several residential developments that are proposed or currently underway on Route 66 or on Arrow Highway. And the Gold Line is just around the corner. Our future is bright. With that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, we are wrapping up, but the future is big. The future is bright, but it's going to take sacrifice by all of us, engagement, vision, time, and energy. It's going to take that from each one of us, from social clubs, from civic groups, from the city, from the schools, from churches. Our city is well poised, in spite of some of the audacious things that we've heard tonight. We are well poised because of the legacy that we have. The legacy that has shaped us, formed us, has allowed us to pivot at times when that legacy has kind of gone astray. But it has given us the mission which we all share, the values which we all love. And I'm excited about that. I really am. It's a great place to still live, work, and play. And I just want, once again, to thank you for taking your time to be here. I want to thank the colleagues that I have, the City Council, that you elected to be a part of shaping where we are going. They work extremely hard, and we're blessed to have each and every one of them. So may God continue to bless us as a city, a county, a state, a nation. I want to once again thanks to Joe and Lindsay for their tremendous work. I'm assuming there's some treats that are still out there, maybe coffee, the bar's open still. And thank you once again for being here. Let us know what you think of this idea. And next year we'll be back again and give you a lot of update. The budget that we just approved is on our website. So if you can't sleep, I guarantee you it's a cure-all. Not to offend Kyle, because he's done a lot of good work, but it's on our website, and if you want to really dig in and see where money's being spent, then please do that. Joe, I'll give you the last word.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause. There's a lot of great information. And I'd like to thank our sponsors tonight for making this possible. A round of applause. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you soon. Take care.